The organization Undoing Tax Abuse, now known as Outa, has filed a High Court application to declare unconstitutional the administrative adjudication of the Road Traffic Offences Act and the Aarto Amendment Act. The Act will introduce a demerit system aimed at improving driver safety. But Outa believes the legislation won't achieve this. Joining me to talk about this is Outa Chief Legal Officer and Director of Accountability, Advocate Stefanie Fick. Advocate Fick, a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Let's begin here. Why is Outa taking on this court challenge to have the Aarto Act and the Aarto Amendment Act to be declared unconstitutional? I mean, you've asserted that since it was rolled out in Gauteng some 10 years ago, it has failed spectacularly, as you say.
Yeah, it wasn't very successful in Gauteng, and now they plan to roll it out nationwide. So logic dictates that hopefully, will they get it right this time nationwide? But I think the main problem is the constitutional issues. The fact that we say that by creating this national road traffic, infringement agencies, serve the role of local and provincial government. In terms of our constitutional, local and provincial government, there's separation of powers, and that, local and provincial municipalities are supposed to conduct their own business. And part of that business is, for example, traffic fines and that kind of infringement. And Aarto creates, or Aarto is going to create this, a body, a national body, and all of these infringements will be dealt with either by RTIA or the Appeals Tribunal. And we do feel that that is unconstitutional. If that is not a success, we also have a problem with the service provision. The fact that you can now, be made aware of an infringement, that has got dire consequences for, someone that might have committed an offense. Yeah. You may receive it over email or SMS and you may not get it. So yeah, that is in principle and in summary the problems we have with the Aarto and the Aarto Amendment Act.
So in looking at the matter, you've raised the issue over the need for measures to improve road safety, and these measures are also meant to reduce fatalities. How is it that Aarto Amendment Act will not achieve this?
Well, I think the main argument is, what are the offences we are most worried about? It's, the offences that cause fatalities on our roads. What are those? I mean, I'm probably not going to mention all of them. But for example, drunken driving, your really reckless and negligent drivers, the drivers you actually want to prosecute for attempted murder. Yeah. And those are the ones that will, will not fall under the Aarto Act, because it will say that it needs to go directly to court. How do you catch a drunk driver? Yeah. How do you catch a person that is driving recklessly and negligent? You need people. You need traffic officers. You need more visible policing. Now, there's also the sense that, there needs to be education. And yes, there needs to be education. But we need more, infrastructure, we need more education, and we need more bodies. And that's one of the reasons we say that the Aarto and Aarto Amendment Act, which was supposed to, the Aarto Act was an administrative system, but there was part that goes through the judiciary. Now they've made it a totally an administrative sort of process. And you know what? I'm open for someone that can tell me how that is going to stop the drunk drivers from causing havoc, from causing tragedy to families.
Now, a bit earlier in our conversation, you alluded to a perceived conflict with the Constitution. Let's just zoom into this a bit further. Please explain this.
Well, in terms of the Constitution, you have, in a natural separation of powers. Local government, provincial government, and national government is effectively sort of, let's call it, three separate entities, and that local and provincial government are supposed to regulate some of their own issues. And some of the issues that specifically local government has got control over is certain offences in terms of Schedule 5 of the Constitution, which includes something like traffic offences and, just normal traffic offences. So by creating, it's RTIA and it's the appeals tribunal, those are national entities, if I can call it that. So what is happening now is that your local infringements of, parking, for example, are now being decided by a national body. And that we feel the national government is usurping the powers of local government. And that is a constitutional issue, because the Constitution is clear.
And looking at your court challenge, what are you hoping to get through this application? What do you want the court to declare on?
Well, basically what we are saying is to declare both the amendment, the main act that is currently in action, and the Amendment Act that's still, well, it was signed by the President, but obviously there hasn't been a date for that to start, is for both to declare unconstitutional. Unfortunately, the basis of both these acts, you can't separate certain sections in order to make it more constitutional. The whole act, creates an unconstitutional act. So we want the whole act to be declared unconstitutional. Let's start over. I just need to say that, we've been part of this process right from the start. We went to all the meetings that they had on province level. We went to Parliament. We presented. We wrote letters saying, we all want to curb road deaths. We cannot sit here and say that we do not want to, make sure that everyone is safe on our roads. But we really believe in our hearts that this is not the way to go. And therefore, unfortunately, this is now the only way, is to go to court and ask the court to tell us whether, this act is constitutional or unconstitutional.
Well, Advocate Fick, one has to consider that the court may rule against your application. If the court finds that the law is not inconsistent with the Constitution, you've warned that Outa will further oppose Section 17 of the Amendment Act.
That is indeed correct. The current Aarto Act, and that's one of the things that RTIA, for example, struggled with, is that, when you receive your infringement notice, you need to get it via registered post. Now, the Amendment Act is saying you can now get it via email or via SMS. Now, we do feel that the consequences thereof, you face consequences if you do not react to an infringement notice. You can end up with the demerit points, losing your license, which will have an impact on so many of us, our employment. So all we are saying is that, court and court processes, there's always been some rules. I mean, if you receive, if someone is suing you or, for something that they allege you did wrong, they can't phone you or send you an SMS saying, listen, I want you to be at court and I want you to defend this. Or imagine you call a robber saying, please come to court. No, there are certain, there's a reason why registered mail and, more formal service is needed in some proceedings. And all we are saying is that, by serving infringement notices and enforcement order, that should be done in a more formal way. Now, there's one argument, that shouldn't government be more technologically advanced? Yes. But there's certain things that just can't be you know, certain things just can't be done that way. That's not how the law has evolved.
Now, as we wrap up, the system, of course, has not been without criticism. There are claims that there are hidden charges with it and that there are faults many faults have been learnt about. There are also concerns that the Act in its current wording could be fined for not paying e-tolls, or rather that motorists could be fined for not paying e-tolls. What faults have you noted in this regard?
Well, we are concerned. I think, you know, the fact that it's in our view that e-tolls is a failed system, and are they going to use, you know, you know, not paying your e-tolls by using Aarto in order to enforce e-tolls and sort of pressure people into paying e-tolls. I do think at this point we are confident that I think government will realize that e-tolls has failed long time ago and that it's just not practical. You know, all the corruption that went on with the road construction and just not consulting with the civil society on, you know, these types of projects, that government will realize that the e-toll system should be scrapped. So although we are worried about it, we are also confident that that system will no longer be part of our roads in the foreseeable future.